Let's talk about globalization. You hear that word all the time, right? But what does it actually mean for you and me? I mean, think about the phone in your hand or the coffee in your cup. They are perfect examples of this massive force. In this explainer, we're going to break down how our world became so deeply and surprisingly connected. Seriously, just for a second, look around the room you're in. Your clothes, that laptop, maybe even your lunch. Odds are parts of them have traveled thousands and thousands of miles just to get to you. So how? How did making pretty much anything turn into this giant global team effort? That's the big question we're really digging into here.
So, okay, let's get a definition down. What is globalization? At its absolute core, it's all about speed and connection. It's this process where countries are getting more and more integrated. Their economies, their societies, everything is getting woven together super tightly across borders. You can almost think of it like the world is shrinking, and all these different countries are suddenly next-door neighbors in one giant global market.
So who are the big players in all this? Well, for starters, you've got your multinational corporations, MNCs. These are the giant companies that operate all over the world, and they're a huge driver of foreign trade, moving goods and money across borders. But here's a really important point. Globalization isn't just about, stuff. It's also about people moving for better opportunities and ideas and technologies spreading everywhere. And that's where things get interesting, because there's a real tension here. See, goods and money, they can zip around the globe almost freely. But people, not so much. The rules for them are way more restrictive. Remember that. It's going to be important later.
Okay, so how did this all happen so fast? I mean, this level of connection is pretty recent historically speaking. Well, it really comes down to two main engines that fired everything up. We're going to start with engine number one, a massive leap forward in technology.
And it starts with something you've probably seen a million times and never thought twice about, the shipping container. Yeah, this simple metal box. It honestly doesn't look like much, but it completely changed the game. Before these things were standardized, loading a ship was this slow, super expensive process. Like in old movies where you see dock workers carrying sacks and crates one by one. Well, the container made it possible to just lift and load massive, pre-packed units. It slashed the time, it slashed the cost, and it kicked off a total revolution in how we move physical stuff around the planet. But moving physical stuff is only half the story. The other side of this tech revolution was about information. And this example is just perfect. Think about it. A magazine gets designed in London. The digital file is then emailed to a printer in Delhi. Why? Because it's cheaper to print there. The whole thing gets printed overnight, and then the physical copies are flown back to London to be sold the very next day. I mean, just stop and think about that. 50 years ago, that would have sounded like science fiction. But because of the internet and instant communication, this kind of global teamwork is now totally normal.
But here's the thing. All this amazing technology couldn't do it alone. It needed permission. It needed a green light from governments around the world. And that brings us to the second huge engine of globalization, major changes in policy that basically opened up the economic gates between countries. The technical term for this is liberalisation.
And to really get a handle on what this means, India is a fantastic case study. After gaining independence for decades, we're talking the 50s, 60s, all the way through, the government's main goal was protectionism. They wanted to shield their own new, budding industries from outside competition. But then, in the 1990s, everything changed. The whole approach did a complete 180.
So what did that U-turn actually look like on the ground? Well, back in the day, the government used something called trade barriers. The easiest way to think of this is just high taxes on anything that was imported. This made foreign stuff really expensive, which gave local Indian companies a chance to grow without having to worry about bigger, more established competitors. But after a few decades, they started to realize something. While this protection helped companies survive, it wasn't really pushing them to get better. So the whole goal shifted. Instead of just protecting companies, the new idea was to improve quality by actually inviting competition in.
And that right there, that's the heart of liberalization. It's when a government makes the choice to get rid of, or at least lower, those trade barriers. You take down the walls, you let imports and exports happen freely, and boom, you've created the open, free-flowing environment that globalization absolutely depends on to work.
So let's put the two pieces together. You've got the tech that makes it possible to connect instantly across the world, and you've got the policies that give the green light for trade to happen. When you fire up both of those engines at the same time, what happens? Well, you get a whole new playing field, a completely different world for both businesses and for us, the consumers.
Think about it. Once those markets open up, a local company isn't just competing with the shop down the street anymore. Suddenly, they're up against the best companies from all over the globe. That kind of pressure is intense.
It forces them to innovate, to improve their quality, to get better just to survive. And for you and me, that's actually great news. It means we get access to better stuff, way more choices, and a lot of the time, better prices too.
So, there you have it. It's that powerful 1-2 punch. Technology gave us the means to connect with incredible speed, and then policy changes gave us the permission by opening the gates. Put those two together, and you get the perfect storm that created the truly global marketplace that we all live in today.
And this brings us right back to that tension we mentioned at the very beginning. We've seen how goods, money, and ideas now fly across the globe at incredible speeds. But people, that's a whole different story. The movement of people is still highly restricted, and this raises a really big question for the future, right? In a world that's connected in almost every other way, why does the free movement of people remain the final and maybe the most challenging frontier? Definitely something to think about.